Hello, all you positive heads out there. Thanks for tuning your beautiful brainwaves into another episode of the Positive Head Podcast, which I'm excited to say we are now airing 5 days a week. Once a week, you can still hear an interview with a different consciousness changemaker that is out there working tirelessly to help catalyze change and expand awareness across Spaceship Earth. But now, also, in addition to the weekly interview, on the other 4 weekdays, you can tune in to myself and my co-host Dalien, giving interpretations of our favorite thought-provoking quotes, sharing a bit of inspiring or mysterious news, taking questions from the audience, and digging into any other mind-expansive topics we deem worthy of discussion. Today's episode is sponsored by Procabulary.org. Procabulary offers a brilliant new online language course that I just recently completed myself called Core Language Upgrade. The course material is designed to help you analyze the way you use your words and language to create your reality. I personally believe the words you choose to speak or write out is referred to as spelling for a very good reason. You're literally casting an energetic spell every time you open your mouth, which means it's of the utmost importance that you have a foundational understanding about the power or lack of power that the words you're choosing to use conjures up. I strongly believe language mastery is a highly important skill set that way too few people have taken it upon themselves to become educated on. And what Procabulary does is actually provides you with an incredibly easy to follow roadmap that only takes about 10 minutes a day spanned over 21 days to complete, which shows you how to go about changing your language patterns so that you can start getting better results in every aspect of your life. Now, as a Positive Head Podcast listener, if you decide to go to Procabulary.org and purchase the Core Language Upgrade course, you'll get 33% off if you use the promo code POSITIVEHEAD, all one word, on the checkout page. The retail price for Core Language Upgrade is normally $299, and I'd say it's really worth every penny of that, but it's especially worth it after your 33% Positive Head discount because it drops the price to $199. That's a crazy good deal that I had to do some serious convincing to get the guys at Procabulary to give to our listeners, so I really hope some of you will take advantage of it while it lasts. Also, if you need more convincing about the power of Procabulary, check out Positive Head Podcast number 20, where I actually interview Procabulary co-founder Mark England, and we discuss language mastery in great detail. All right, all you positive heads, welcome to another episode of the Positive Head Podcast. It is a fabulous Friday here in the studio. I've got my lovely co-host, Dalien the Alien, here with me. Hello, Dalien.
Hi. That's very lovely for you to call me lovely. Oh,
my lovely description made your voice change, which is interesting. Why are you getting undressed?
Oh, ladies and gentlemen, it's going to be that sort of podcast. We'll get back to you later. Man. You're going to have to come up with a new qualifier because you called Anna lovely. I believe it applies more to her than me.
Yeah, I think that's more of a legitimate lovely reference, whereas yours is like a facetious sort of jab at your non-loveliness.
Well, don't be jelly. I'm looking pretty hot right now.
So it's another beautiful day here in paradise, and so grateful that you're all joining us. I noticed we just got our first 1-star review. Woo! Thank you, whoever gave us a 1-star review.
Yeah, thanks. We got another star, Brandy.
Yeah, exactly. That just adds to them, right?
Right.
Well, hopefully some people will hear this and help to balance it out by giving us some good ones because, we've been at it a long time. I mean, since last spring, the first time someone has given us a 1 out of 5 stars, apparently they didn't like something about something we say.
Of course, we've gotten a couple of critical reviews before.
Only one other one that I know of. Actually, the very first review we ever got was like a scathing review, but he wrote out, not only a star rating, but he wrote out an actual review. And at least he gave us 2 stars. This person gave us 1 star. So, yeah. I guess we can't please everyone. We're trying. Anyway, hopefully someone out there that loves us will help to make up for it and go and give us 6 stars somehow. Maybe they'll hack the iTunes system and figure out how to go from 5 to 6.
No, I think I get it. Some people will think that all this talk about aliens is a little goofy, maybe.
We don't talk about aliens that much. I mean, from time to time, we both are nerds about aliens, but we don't talk about it too terribly much. But, like you said, it is kind of a polarizing topic, the things we're talking about. If someone hears it, no, positive, this is all bullshit, hocus pocus, whatever. And I understand. That's fine. especially on the internet, you're going to get those sorts of things and those sorts of people that love negativehead.com are going to, from time to time, probably take shots at us, and that's okay. We love you too. Even though you gave us 1 star, if you're listening, and you're probably not, I still love you. So thank you for at least giving it a shot.
Yeah, it's like people say, though, you hear a lot more about criticisms than when everything's going great.
Oh, yeah.
So it is awesome that all of you who have written reviews and given us star ratings, that you have taken the time to do so, because it is an effort to go out of your way to say, hey, I endorse this, as opposed to, like, you know, the waiter got my order wrong. Of course I'm going to bitch, you know?
Right. Yeah. They've actually done studies where they show that people are like 9 times more likely to speak up when they're unhappy about something than when they're happy about something. So it's something to do with the human condition. But I think that's changing. I think you're getting more and more people who are more willing to support and show love for something. We're going through a shift as a species, so I like to believe in the good in people and expect more goodness.
Yes.
Not focus on what the statistics have looked like in the past. So,
well, you know, there's an interesting bit that reminds me, or that I am reminded of when you say that, though. Your conversation with Jerry Weiss here recently. Mm-hmm. From the Good News Network, she talked about how positive news gets shared in social media a lot more than. Yeah. So I thought that was very interesting, because it got me thinking about all these sort of sociological and demographic studies that perhaps aren't being done right now to show, you know, what the impact of the typical horrendous negative focused news is versus something like that.
That's actually a great point, Dalien. Yeah, because you do hear, and a lot of you probably have heard that before, that negative news, you know, people speak up 9 times more, or a lot more, when they're unhappy about something. But that is a great thing in trend that you see on social media. Look at all the positive stuff that's being shared and how many shares some of these great quotes and memes are getting. So I think people are shifting to trying to spread a bit of positivity. That's certainly our goal over here. And, you know, we can't expect to make everyone happy. So hopefully we're making some people happy. I think we are. So I know I'm making myself happy, and that's the most important thing with all of us. Self-love, doing what feels right to you, and you'll find your tribe, you know. Whatever vibration you're emitting, people that are in resonance with that will be attracted. And every now and then you might have a straggler who's not necessarily in resonance with it, and they let you know, and that's okay. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Enough about that. Let's talk about Aldous Huxley, the English writer, philosopher. I had a quote, a friend actually post something earlier from Aldous Huxley that I really liked, so I thought I would kind of talk about it a little bit. And the quote from Aldous Huxley goes a little something like this. "It's dark because you are trying too hard. Lightly, child, lightly. Learn to do everything lightly. Yes, feel lightly, even though you're feeling deeply. Just lightly let things happen and lightly cope with them. So throw away your baggage and go forward. There are quicksands all about you, sucking at your feet, trying to suck you down into fear and self-pity and despair. That's why you must walk so lightly. Lightly, my darling." I absolutely loved it. It was something that resonates so strongly with me, so I thought I would talk about it on today's podcast because, you know, I'm somebody who tends to not go so lightly. My partner Anna always talks about how she knows when I'm around because I'm stomping and slamming doors and, you know, doing things aggressively. And it's something that I'm really, really working on, because when you bring that energy of, you know, tense energy and aggressive kind of energy, you are bringing a certain amount of stress and anxiety with it. And it's something that I've really had to work, you know, hard on in my life. And I'm, you know, have been dealing with a lot of heavy things lately and with one of my businesses. And it's something where I'm just really trying to really go lightly and trust the universe and that everything will work out well with it. And so I think this is such a great, beautiful, poetic, quote from Aldous Huxley to learn to take it, you know, take yourself lightly. I think that's one of the most important things. We all take ourselves so dang serious. You know, our life is so serious. Everything's so important. You know, really nothing matters in the grand scheme of things. You know, I've heard the quote before, nothing matters and everything counts, which I really I like. It really doesn't matter. It counts for something. It means something. But at the end of the day, this is just a dream God once had. It's a dream that happened in infinity, and it's no more important than, I don't know if you've ever seen, Dan, have you seen the pale blue dot? Carl Sagan, there's a picture, and it shows, here you are, every dream, every hero, every villain, every drama has played out on this, in its actually, probe or something that we sent out many, many years ago, who's taken a picture of the Earth from a great distance. And what you see is a strip of cosmic dust. And in that strip of cosmic dust is this little pale blue dot. And that's where we are. That's where we live. Everything we know of has played out in this little, it looks like a speck of dust in a sea of, infinity. It really puts it into perspective. And so if we can learn to take ourselves a little less seriously and lighten up about, all the things that are happening around us, this too shall pass. And like I said, when I saw this, I'd actually never seen this particular quote before, and I just wanted to talk about it, even though, we actually have a breakdown of the day that Sue Krebs wrote that I'll get to in a little bit. I just wanted to go into the subject matter a little bit. And it's just, it's such an important lesson for us all to start learning. And then, of course, he talks about trying to suck you down into fear and self-pity and despair. And that's so easy for so many people. Fear, false emotion appearing real. Fear is just a perspective that you've chosen to adopt. I could have a very fearful perspective on a certain event that I'll share sometime in the relatively near future as things develop more. But something that is, from one perspective, very difficult and could instill a lot of fear. And I couldn't be more calm about it because I trust. And I'm not allowing myself to, give over to this fear, this false emotion appearing real. The pendulum swings in life, and the valleys are just as much a part of the story as the hills and the peaks. And the more you can manage your vibration through those valleys, the higher the peaks that you can climb to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can relate a lot to what you said, especially the last few years. We've been on this journey more or less together on what you could call a spiritual journey for almost 20 years, right?
Right.
But we both know very well that in many senses, living this thing is just walking a path that you never stop walking, meaning that you can stumble really anytime. And of course, like you would, I suppose, in real life, if you stumble, you don't sit there recriminating yourself every time. You just get up and keep going. But learning to not take yourself so seriously is something that I have been really sort of going deeper into in my own life for the last few years. And I can kind of tell a time in my life where I made the transition from being someone who was just altogether totally wrapped up in this whole ego and what Eckhart Tolle refers to as the pain body, right?
Right.
Just this dense energy of, so loaded with memories from the past, negative memories.
Right. Stories.
Right. And then once that whole structure began to crack in my life, I was able to really take a step back and really take some good laughs at myself, like some long looks and really laugh at myself, like really seeing how preposterous and ridiculous some of the things that I was doing were. And to this day, I can really hold on to that, feeling that, that I can just be here and be light and and try and enjoy myself as much as possible. And realize that, like you said, nothing really matters. So might as well
keep it light.
Choose the light.
Well, think about the term enlightenment. It has lighten up. And like I said, I'm the biggest... I'm the most guilty of this, taking myself seriously and being so driven and so serious. I certainly am not always that way, but I can get into that mode easily. I have that kind of type A personality where it's easy to get tense and stressed about something, and technology is pissing me off. And, and all of a sudden now what are you doing? You're losing in that mode. Your only job is to manage your vibration, as we've said so many times before. So in any moment, if you're being heavy because of some external circumstances, you are losing. You are losing the number one, the game that you're playing. And make no mistake, this life is a game that you're playing, you're learning and growing from. And it feels, it can feel certainly heavy, but only if your perspective allows for that to be. Mm-hmm. And if you see, and trust that life is happening for you and not to you, then when that heavy thing comes, that thing that may induce fear if you adopt the wrong perspective, it all of a sudden takes on a whole different slant, a whole different reflection. It's like, okay, this is challenging. I wonder what good is hiding behind it. How do I learn and how do I grow from it? And that's when it changes everything. I had this conversation with my nephew. I have a 15-year-old nephew, Evan, and he has supposedly Asperger's syndrome, right? Which is a mild form of autism. And so his whole life, he's been told, you have this thing wrong with you. There's a problem. You're not the same as everyone else. You're not. And meanwhile, the kid is brilliant. The kid is so sharp and got so much potential. And he's just getting, sure, maybe he's developing at a different rate than someone else. Or there may be unique challenges in some ways with him, but there's also unique talents and gifts there. And as he's getting older, he seems more and more normal and more loving and more understanding. So I love having the opportunity to work with him, to try and say, because he's getting to the point where he's concerned about his future, and he's starting to tell stories of my future is going to be, I'm going to be nothing. So he's very fearful of his, and what I explained to him actually earlier today, I had breakfast with him and I said, this is a story that you're telling, and and if you think it will be true. If you tell this story, make no mistake, that will be your future. This thing without, I don't know what I'll do for a career and I'll never fit in and I won't be like everyone else. And if you think that, yep, you're absolutely right. But if you decide to tell a different story, maybe the story that you were put here with these quote unquote challenges only to have the opportunity to overcome those challenges. You were put with the parents that you have who are, love them to death, my sister and my brother-in-law, but, are very lost in the reacting to what they've created and thinking life's happening to them, right? And not realizing that it's a reflection of their vibration. And maybe you've been put there with them as an example of, and maybe I'm in your life to show you, hey, there's another way. And maybe you'll make a decision. And maybe in eternity, there's infinite versions of you and you've played out every possibility in between. And that's something that I truly believe. Einstein proved there is no such thing as time. So from this moment forward, there's infinite versions of you, and me. Those of you out there listening, from this moment forward, there's all these versions. You want to experience the greatest and grandest version, the one that's the most rewarding, the one that's going to have the most enjoyable ride. The good news is you've already done it because there is no time. So it's all about just getting in vibrational alignment with the unfolding of the version of self that you want to see show up in it's like watching an old movie, essentially, is what we're all doing. Which version of you are you going to pop into the I almost want to say VHS tape. I guess I'm aging myself there because no one pops in VHS tapes anymore. Yeah. Although I wouldn't be surprised if it became trendy again.
Yeah. I think people like your nephew and your son, Brad, who are close to the same age, of course, they benefit a lot from something like the video game analogy, right? Because they relate so much to games. In many senses, it is like an RPG, and you've mentioned this before, where you get to choose the traits of your character. But even deeper into that, an analogy that we both read many years ago that was really cool in the Conversations with God series of books.
Highly recommended.
Yeah, absolutely. Was the whole concept of every possible move you can make being programmed into the game. That's the reason why we can do anything we can do, is because just like a video game, every possible combination of probabilities was factored in.
It's all been played out. Yeah, because eternity is now. So you're just zooming in on this time is only a way that God or source or our higher selves, whatever you want to call it, makes things stick together. Otherwise, they fall apart as soon as they happen. So it's all already in there. It's where free will meets destiny. You've already done it all. Every version you can think of and those that you can't. But free will comes in because which version are you going to watch again this time?
Right. That's really cool the way you put it, where free will meets destiny. I don't think I've heard you say that before.
Oh, really? No, that's one that I've been throwing around for a while. Maybe you were just not paying attention. Pay attention to me, Dalien. Pay attention.
Hey, we got some real doozies in today's episode from both you and me. We got some good ones.
Yeah, we're on one. So yeah, that is my like I said, that Aldous Huxley quote really kind of inspired me, and it took me in a direction because I resonate. Go lightly, everyone. Go lightly this weekend. Don't take yourself so seriously. Your job is to remain light. If you can remain light, you're going to see light reflections ultimately come back. It has no choice. Law of attraction says it must reflect back what you're emanating. Quit reading what is already there. That's just a reflection of a previous vibration you've offered. So don't react to a previous vibrational offering that's showing up today. Instead, create what's going to happen next, and keep creating what's happening next in a way that is calm and peaceful. You are the eye of the storm. There may be a storm raging all around you, but you're the calm in the center, and that's when you're becoming more godlike, your higher self. It's the unmoved mover that's in the center of all things, observing, needing nothing, and taking it all with a grain of salt in a good way.
Yeah. You can connect to that mindset that you were describing so easily through things like meditation. And you can really, if you begin
That's what meditation's about, right?
Yeah. You begin to understand the concepts first, but then you don't really need to hold on to so much like mental, I guess, form making or whatever, all these like structures of understanding. I guess what I'm trying to say is that a lot of this material you can absorb in your own personal way, and then you just sort of begin to live it. And because I'm very interested in everything to do with the heart and emotions integrating with all this knowledge. So yeah.
Absolutely. Well, Mr. Dalien, to move right along, what do we have in way of a mysterious story of the day?
And now for the mysterious news of the day.
Okay, I've got a good one from Disclose.tv. It's one that you've seen as well. The genius 5-year-old child from Los Angeles that's said to have all kinds of abilities up to and including telepathy and psychic powers.
Wow.
Okay, yeah, this is a autistic 5-year-old.
Speaking of autism.
yeah, exactly. Seems like a pretty normal child. I watched the video here on Disclose.tv. His name is Ramses Sangino. Ramses, like the Egyptian pharaoh.
Oh, wow.
And it says here, he started reading when he was 12 months old. He can understand and speak parts of Greek, Hebrew, Arabic, and Japanese, according to his mom, Nix. He can also solve rudimentary algebra problems and draw the entire periodic table.
Wow.
Okay, so he's got savant abilities, but what drew this neuroscientist, Diane Powell, to the home to do a little bit more research on the child was the fact that he does exhibit telepathy or some degree of psychic power.
How did he demonstrate this? I remember seeing this article briefly, but I don't remember the details of it. I think I just skimmed it.
Mm-hmm. He can primarily identify numbers that are hidden from him, where the researcher will draw numbers from the random generator website, and then they will pick cards that correlate to the numbers, and then they will ask the child to name the cards, and he does with a high degree of accuracy.
Wow.
He got 3 out of 5 on this one video that I saw, but he does so consistently from what we can tell.
Wow.
He's getting them a lot of the time, and it appears pretty natural.
It's so cool. There's so many, we've been reporting a lot of these super, kind of supernatural powers that more and more people are beginning to exhibit. And even, it's funny because you tied back in autism, but there's actually people out there who've done, rigorous study and so forth on autism. I'm no expert by any means, but where they're, actually claiming that autistic people are actually, they have these mutated abilities, really. It's like, I think of the guy in England who's phenomenal. He's you may have seen him before. Oh, I don't remember his name or anything off the top of my head, but he can actually do any computations in his head. And he doesn't actually, like a calculator. So you can give him any math problem. He'll tell you 321.7565, give you the answer right on the spot. But he's not actually calculating. He claims that he sees shapes and colors that tell him what numbers that are coming up next. So it's all like a psychic kind of gift. And in this guy's case, he actually, it doesn't just stop with numbers. And they thought he had some kind of trick. So they tried to kind kind of catch him in his trick, and they discovered that he was actually doing what he claimed he could do. I want to say they did a whole episode special on Discovery Channel about this guy. Fascinating story. And then he went on later and learned, I guess, Icelandic is supposedly one of the most difficult languages to learn, and he learned it in a week and then went on Icelandic television and spoke it fluently. You know, it's like, what in the world? It's like a whole nother thing. You know, it's his whatever he's showing that humanity's evolution has not stopped. It's in motion. You know. And I think as the things that are coming online, the spiritual revolution that's happening, as people are opening up to, you know, higher vibration energies, no telling what we're going to see in the coming months and years. But you can guarantee we'll be talking about it on the show, whatever's coming up, because it's all just so fascinating.
Yeah, you know what's so trippy is that the picture is emerging for me of the correlation between savants, which we've known for a long time, I suppose, since there's evidence of cultures as far back as, I don't know, a couple centuries after Christ, talking about savants, of course, but the correlation between that and what we now understand of the whole Asperger and autism spectrum disorders, right? Yeah. And it seems like on the higher end of that whole spectrum, you have basically telepathic ability, precognition, and things like that, which you could say go a little outside the bounds of something that's purely scientific, right? But it's all related. It's all part of a continuum, it seems. Right. So that's really pretty fascinating. Like you were saying, thinking that perhaps these people are going to or could occupy a place in a more enlightened society where they perform a certain role or function. Yeah. And of course, their relative lack of social skills, you could say, if that's even really a thing, because of course, we're talking about a whole spectrum of behavior and symptoms, et cetera. But I can see how they could be sort of accommodated or catered to in a certain sense, while they provide an incredibly valuable service to the rest of us. So, yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's all pretty darn interesting. So what I'd like to do now is move along to, although I did go over a quote in detail, this is the actual positive pondering breakdown of the day. And this comes from Positive Head contributor extraordinaire Sue Krebs, and it goes a little something like this. The question exists because the answer is waiting to be heard. Jennifer Hoffman. And here's Sue's breakdown of this positive pondering. For the most part, we believe that the answers we seek come after we have asked the question. However, the more that I actively and deliberately study the process of creating our reality, the more I'm beginning to understand that, like many things, we've got this backwards. Perhaps the answer already exists, and then the question comes to us so that we might find, hear, and receive what is already there. The answer, our expansion. Intention plays a huge role in setting the course for our path. What is it that we desire? Where do we want to go emotionally? Are we seeking peace or joy or abundance or freedom? What we want to experience determines the direction we head. And then we trust the universe to orchestrate the opportunities, situations, and circumstances to give us that experience. So too, perhaps, the universe then inspires us to ask questions that will guide and direct us. As I considered how some of my life events have unfolded, I see proof of this idea. Years ago, I had never even heard of the Akashic Records. Then, as I began seeking my own way of connecting to Source and uncovering my spiritual gifts, the Akashic records kept coming across my awareness. I can remember thinking then, I want to learn how to do that. I want to access the records. Now, hundreds of Akashic Records readings later, I've learned that I've been working many lifetimes with the records. It's an energy with which I'm very familiar and comfortable. I believe that working with the records was always part of my soul's plan for this lifetime, and so that answer already existed. I just had to wait for the time when I was asking the question, how do I do this myself? Perhaps much of our lives unfold like this. Based on our intentions, on our soul plans, answers already exist, and we're just lining up with the questions that will create an opening for those answers to be revealed. I like believing that things like this are always working in my favor and towards my highest good. that is Sue's breakdown of the day. Thank you, Sue. I love this because I was actually just about to talk about this subject. I hadn't even read this breakdown going in. I think it's always fun to kind of learn it in real time as I deliver it sometimes, and that's what I was doing today. And the funny thing is, synchronistically, I was about to start talking about this topic just a moment ago, and I didn't. And here she's done it for me. It's the answers are already there waiting. It's whatever it is that you're meant to do. What I was going to say earlier, there's no reason to fear, because whatever you're meant to do, you've brought the talents for. Imagine you're God, you're source, you're one with all things. You have an unlimited toolbox of skills and abilities. But if I'm not meant to be the next great architect, I'm probably not going to bring all my architecture skills. If this character, this avatar, Brandon, is meant to have a podcast and help to bring positive information and awaken himself as he's awakening himself, help to awaken and remind others of what they've forgotten, then he'll probably bring the skills of, having way too much to say and diarrhea of the mouth. So you have within you what you need. And this is something I was talking with someone the other day about, actually my sister, and it's one of the most talented people I know. And the problem is sometimes with motivation with her, and I'm like, Melissa, what you need to do is just do something where you're at with what you've got. Do what you can with where you're at with what you've got. You've got this creative ability. You love creating things and drawing and making games, and do what you can with what you've got from where you're at. And if you do that, you've got to meet the universe halfway. If you don't meet the universe halfway, then it can't. This is how we co-create with our higher selves. You're turning over rocks. It's like a game of hide and seek. You're turning over rocks. You're following your gut. You're believing beyond a doubt that what you need, the solution is inherent in there being a problem. It implies a solution right off the bat. It's already all happened in the timeless, eternal moment of now. So your job becomes fun then to solve these problems. That's what you've got to do. What is it where is my bliss? Where's my excitement? I'm going to start doing something with that, however small. We started with this podcast. We had no one listening to it. It's just for us. Let's put it out there. And now it's growing. It's growing. It's growing. We're even getting 1-star reviews. And so it's just doing what we've got. We had the microphone. We had the recording software. Dalien has some engineering experience. Let's do what we've got with, what we can with what we've got from where we're at and see where it goes. And when you're following your heart in that manner, good things are going to come. Solutions are going to come. And so I absolutely love the timing of this. And I also recommend any of you guys, if you're not familiar with the Akashic Records are a record of all that ever has been or will be. It's like Google for the universe. And Sue, actually, one of the very first podcast interview that I did, Dalien and I did, was with Sue Krebs. And so she's very special for that reason. I love her to death, and she still contributes to Positive Head by doing a blog each week and a breakdown. So if you've never had an Akashic Records reading, you can get one through Sue. You can find her on Facebook at Soul Speaking is her Facebook page. And I highly recommend getting an Akashic Records reading. It's very, very interesting because she basically goes into your personal records and tells you what she sees and what she feels. And it's cool.
Yeah. What you just said is going to make me circle back around once again to a video game analogy, or really even the mindset of a child, because I relate so much to what you said. And of course, you know this about myself too. With your sister and I being more creative and visually creative, like graphic artist types, right? Or musically gifted, right, and whatnot. There is sometimes a bit of a immature mentality that isn't necessarily, I don't mean immature in a negative sense at all, but much like a child, you can be perhaps too. And if you're naturally already introverted, then you're going to be sort of more bombarded by external stimuli more than someone who's extroverted, right? Who's ready to, just go out there and engage. So what happens is a little bit of this, overwhelmment, you could say, and then you start shutting down because there's so much coming at you, or so many probabilities, so much that you are not making sense of.
Right.
So that can be a little bit like a child that's just, being bombarded by sensory input. not knowing how to process it so much, becoming a little overwhelmed, and, in response to all these wonderful opportunities, the child is not engaging, actually. It's just sort of withdrawing.
Right.
So I relate to that, but also, of course, I've been able to go past that now to some degree in my life, where I understand, like you said, that just diving in is, just making any sort of choice at all is beginning to sort of precipitate this chain of events, you could say.
Right.
Right. So by making little choices here and there, you begin to build out, and, like the old Chinese proverb says, you can begin a journey of 1,000 miles
with one step.
But with, the first step.
Yeah, absolutely. And so many times people sit on the sidelines just frozen in fear or doubt or disbelief and don't make moves. And, they say on your deathbed, one of the greatest regrets that people say is not taking those steps, not taking that risk, not, putting themselves out there. Just do it. Find something. Just do it. Just push yourself. Do something today that makes you uncomfortable, that stresses you. And it doesn't even have to be uncomfortable, but stretch yourself is what I'm getting at. So,
right. Well, actually, it does have to be a little bit uncomfortable, I think.
If you're someone who is a procrastinator, it is going to be, because you're kind of frozen in fear. And a lot of times people are actually fearful of success. They're fearful of what success may come and don't feel worthy. And that comes from a lack of understanding of who they are and what they are. You are literally, all of you listening to this, you are literally a divine being in the physical, playing hide and seek with itself. You've chosen to forget so that you can have the experience of remembering again. You are literally divine. You are literally God manifest physically. And once you don't take my word for it, believe it enough, be open enough to explore for yourself, go within via meditation, ask, sincerely, via prayer or meditation or whatever you want to call it. Is this true? If so, show me. I'm open to that possibly being the case. I can feel, in some sense, I know you can feel the truth of what I'm saying as you listen to this, because there's nothing I can say that you don't already know. All I can do is remind you what you've forgotten. That's what we're all here doing, walking each other home. This is how God experiences herself. It chooses to forget, and so that it can remember and have the experience of coming home to the glory of being divine and unlimited abundance and love at your disposal. It's just a choice of opening up the floodgates. So
yeah. It's not like we're here to really tell and preach so much to people, oh, this is the way things are, or whatever. You and I are much more comfortable really talking about these things and, of course, giving our understandings of how things are. But, you never want to come across as preachy, right? And
right.
You and I know that there's much we don't know. So there's always
Absolutely.
a need to...
The more you know, the more you realize you don't know.
Yeah,
I know just enough to say, guys, check this concept out. Don't take my word for it, though, whatever you do. Don't take any book's word for it, whatever you do. Just be open enough to go explore and, strap on your seatbelt, because you're going to be shown some things directly.
But if there's any sort of really basic way of boiling down everything that we believe, or one way of doing it, I know that it's something that we both learned a long time ago and that we've been trying to live ever since, really, which is that you have the power, you have the knowledge, you have the abilities, you have everything.
All within you.
Because you are infinite probabilities. Yeah, you have this connection to the universal source of everything.
You're a fractal of the universe. You are literally a chip off the block. It's all within you. It's, that's the thing about a fractal. It's when you can zoom in on something and the same thing is in there infinitely, it keeps going infinitely. Infinite information and, like a picture. If you've seen a picture of a fractal, the same thing. You're a fractal of divinity. You're a fractal of this universe.
You're a holographic chart. Yeah.
Right.
Because you contain the whole within you. Yeah. The principle of like that whole holographic thing, really, that's what it talks about.
Absolutely. It's so empowering and so beautiful. And you're all so loved. And I hope you love yourself, because that's the number one thing we're all here to learn. And once you can start really seeing the beauty of the story that you've painted this work of art that is your life, that you've all the struggle, all the hardship. It's a work of art that you've been brave enough to put yourself here in the physical dimension and forget who and what you were and go through all this hardship. And for that you deserve just being here, you deserve a medal. So pat yourself on the back, go light on yourself, quit beating yourself up so much, and love yourself. Love yourself more. See the truth of who and what you are, and get on with the good stuff, because the good stuff is right ahead of you. You wouldn't be tuning into this frequency if you weren't ready and already on this path. So, congratulations to everyone listening, because the hardest is behind you, and any hardship that is ahead, you'll know exactly how to look at it. And as a result, you'll transcend it and move through it quickly and come out stronger, instead of the victim mentality that maybe you've adopted in the past. That's okay, because that was part of the journey as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Maybe even if you are the one who gave us that 1-star rating, perhaps we did bring something of value to your life too, and you just don't know it yet. But I love hearing about things like that, right? Like the naysayer that Jerry had that told her, good news doesn't sell. And then 20 years later or something like that, a decade later, he's investing all this money.
Oh, right. The company, in the Good News Network podcast.
Right. Of course, we're never going to either please everyone or get everyone thinking like we do, but perhaps you will come around. Perhaps you will come to see that what we're saying is true, not so much because we're saying it, but because we've had a chance to test this a little bit, and it really comes back to you, not to us. Well, it comes back to us in our lives, but it always comes back to you. Yeah. You listening, you out there, whoever you are, even if you didn't like it, even if you resonate with it fully, it's going to come back to you regardless.
Yep. Well, Dalien, this has been a inspiring discussion with you today. As always, the number one goal of doing this for me is to raise my own vibration, and I've certainly done that. And I hope those of you listening, it has helped to raise your vibration, because it is meant to be soul food. And a lot of times we're circling around the same topics over and over, and we'll continue, because it's a daily conscious effort. It takes repetition to rewire the brain from a lot of these negative habits that we've all kind of developed over the years as we've dealt with the negative reflections from our previous vibrations that we've offered. Mm-hmm. And so we're, like I said, the hardest part is behind us all. So big pat on the back to everyone listening, and myself included, you included, Dalien.
Yeah, plus kind of like you were saying about your sister, we're already too deep into this. We started.
There's no going back. Once you sign up for this journey, this particular brand of experiencing your, God, for lack of a better word, called the physical incarnation, reincarnation cycle that you're on, you got to go all the way through it. You can't tap out. And so the good news is we're even as society, we're at this huge turning point where masses of people are waking up from lifetimes of sleepwalking. So, well, that's a great way to end it for this week. And please, those of you out there listening, if this is helping you in any way, shape, or form, help us to spread the positivity. Tell a friend, post a little link on Facebook or Twitter or anywhere. We certainly appreciate that. We're trying to, touch as many lives as we can. So if you have someone that you think will appreciate what we're doing here and you tell them about it, thank you. And other than that, we're always open for questions. I haven't been getting too many this week, but if any of you guys would like to throw a question at us, we'd certainly humbly like to take a crack at answering. It may not be the right answer, but you can guarantee you we'll have some perspective. And we'd love to hear from you, because interacting with you guys, every time I interact with someone from the audience, it means so much. It really does fuel me. So those of you that have reached out and so forth, thank you so much. It means a lot. Otherwise, I guess that's going to be it for this week. Until next time, remember, as long as you ain't dead, you're already positive ahead. Journey well, everyone.